Hey everyone, this is Jason from Trading Games. Thanks for coming and checking out this video. This is all about the Sega Dreamcast Kiosk. Over the last couple days, we completely dismantled this unit, replaced the controllers, made a new plexiglass cover for the system, cleaned all the scratches and polished the whole entire housing unit, took the back of it off, exposed the back of the TV, cleaned everything out, cleaned the fans to circulate fresh air in, and got this thing working and looking like brand new. Now, if you want to watch the video, I'll show you how we did all that. Alright, so far I got the controllers out. Now I'm going to work on removing the top from the base. And there's a little set screw, one little screw underneath here that just unscrews, and then the whole base top should come off from the bottom. Main reason I'm doing this is just to give it a real good cleaning and detail. You see, this was what was the only thing holding it in. You have to move it backwards off the clips. Alright, so now that I got this in a better spot to work on, here's the back side. Your dual fans, basically, since this is all enclosed in here, these keep the TV from getting overheated. And the Dreamcast typically behind glass also, so it would generate heat up into here. So these just exhaust the fan. Now I did a real quick vacuum. There was lots of dust bunnies on here, but I'm really going to get in here and detail all this out and clean this up as best that I can before I reassemble the back. I think this is what needed the most attention, were the fans up in here. The blades have been actually rubbing on the side and just accumulating all this crud, and they were getting loud and they seemed off bounce. And I just cleaned this side really well over here, and now this side sounds totally different than this side, so I'm going to keep going. Way better, nice and clean. You can actually see in there with the fans running that no more dragging. It did use a lot of Q-tips. Alright, here's the back all detailed out. You know, this doesn't have to be perfect in here, but you know, while you're in there, you might as well do the best you can in it. Clean it all and get all that dust out of there. It's been in there for 15 plus years. Okay, overall the plastic's in pretty good shape, but what we're going to work on are some of these scratches. See if we can kind of bring this into focus right here. Some lines in it here and stuff. So what we're going to use is we're going to use some magic eraser with a little Windex mixed in. I like to keep my magic erasers to be wet. I did test it in an inconspicuous spot and it didn't hurt it at all. And then after that we'll go over with some nice car wax to bring out the shine back in it. Alright, so I like to spray a little Windex actually on my magic eraser. I'm going to go for these pretty big heavy scuffs. Now what I like to do when I use any type of abrasive is not work in one general area. I like to spread it out a little bit.
Hello.
Try to lighten these scuffs up a little.
I come down here the other day and got a cord for my PlayStation and the weather.
Next we're going to clean these controller arms out. The controller just held them with 2 screws and they were toast, so I pitched them. But once it's unscrewed, you just pull the cord out from it. But let's get these clean. What I like to do is put a little protection down, and there's no electronics in here, it's all plastic, so give this a good spritz, and either a detailing brush or just an old toothbrush to really get down in here. Now I haven't cleaned this part yet, so I'm not worried about the little spray, and it's just Windex, so this won't hurt nothing. That's going to get all that old crud out of there, and then give it a nice flush. If you wanted, you know, you could flex this a little bit more. You could really get down there with Q-tips That's the way I did it on the other arm for practice. Was I just kind of got it into each little groove to dry it out here. You could use compressed air, canned air, spray it out, you know, whatever you want, but this cleans it really well. And then once you get done with the whole thing, looks really nice. You could go a little further and you could put some automotive tire shine on here to recondition the rubber, give it a little moisture back in it after putting the Windex on it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some cleaning, and you want your toothbrush to be clean, so you want to kind of flush it out. See how it leaves all the dirt? And you want that toothbrush to be clean for the next job. And then I spray it and just get it so it's not going to drip. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go around the crack like this. So this is the detailing tip. And you can also hit this crack. That's going to really get down in there. Even a Q-tip won't fit in here. You just want to make sure it's not dripping Windex or whatever you're using to clean. I love Windex though. So this is going to kind of dry out this plastic. The Windex will strip all moisture and waxes off the surface. So we're going to go over this with a nice good Carnauba car wax. It won't hurt it. The only thing you got to be careful for is putting any wax over a screen print. You could basically, if you magic eraser, this would just take this right off. So we're going to go around this very delicately with just a real light wax. And it'll kind of bring the dullness of this out. And then where this hits this edge right here, that might clean this little line up a little bit. So I'll get started on that now that this is all detailed. So when you're going to do a little wax, you know, you need to have a dry towel with no other product on it. You want to get your wax. The reason you want to get it in your towel is so it doesn't squeeze down in the cracks there. But anyways, with a, you know, nice slight pressure. You know, when you do a car, you're supposed to go in circles, but we're not worried about swirl marks on a Dreamcast Kiosk. I actually prefer the press hard and go across. You just want to try to press it up into the cracks as much as you can, and that's exactly why you don't want a lot of wax on your towel. Alright, so I mean, pressing really hard on the door is probably not a good idea. That was way too much wax. The wax itself shouldn't really be taking off scratches. Just adds a little moisture to the system. But like I said, we want to be real careful with this logo. We want to check our towel to make sure we're not all of a sudden getting... But you can put a little more pressure just right underneath it and right above it. I got my finger in here. There's no need to try to get in there and scrub this really hard. You might, like I said, erase it. So, and just like any car wax, you know, you want to do this in a... You can also hit the orange part here. It won't hurt it. Alright, now that that's on, we need to get a new towel. Alright, and now that it's, you know, it's still smeary, so that means it's not dry all the way. We're not doing a Ferrari here. So we can go over it. You can see it took out most of those haziness and the swirlness and really gave it a nice luster again. So even this top plastic that's kind of, you know, the UV light has kind of turned this a little slightly yellow. Even the wax kind of brought that out, just made it shinier. And I don't feel like trying to retro bright this plastic. I'm more worried about consistency. But yeah, this now looks a lot shinier and all the swirl marks are out of it. We'll have to go over it a few times. This will also keep fingerprints from getting on it, have a nice coat of automotive wax on it. And we're all done doing a detail in here. Just Windex and some paper towels in here. And I used like a little toothbrush to get down in there further. Not necessary, but you know, might as well do it and get it clean. And I see a little bit way down in there. I might try to squeeze a Q-tip down there and get some of that out a little bit more. That's about it for now. Alright, I'm going to work on cleaning this side up here. We got some stuff, like some lines in it, scrapes. You can see how dull, shiny this, unshiny this is. Right, so this is the original controller that was in the kiosk. These big screws right here go through the metal arm on the kiosk, and they're actually threaded into the plastic right here. It actually still has the factory screw in here, the little Phillips, but the housing of it is actually threaded out. So now I have the replacement controller here, and in order to tap this, the first thing I had to do was figure out the size, which is about 6mm, I think, is what we ended up coming up with. 6mm for a tap. But these screws, the original screws, are going to be put back in, but they need to come out so that the tap can go down deep enough to thread. So the plastic is really soft. You know, you just take your tap and you want to keep it nice and perpendicular, and you just want to go a couple times around. You can see the little plastic shavings coming out until just now you can just feel it kind of stop. There it is, just stopped. About as deep as it would go there. And then we can just check it. It's great, nice and tight. Now I'm going to put those factory screws back in, and then we're going to run it through the kiosk arm, and I'll show you how we fed the wire through on that. Alright, now I've already completed one side to make sure I knew how to do this, and you just saw me warming it up a little bit to try to fit this round part through a square hole. It's pretty tough to fit it in, but when it gets hot, it just flex a lot easier. So anyways, we're going to push this down, and then it's going to come out inside here. And there it is. Pull it all the way through to the controller's mounted up. And we'll come back to this in a second here. I'm going to try to feed a lot of the extra wire up into here, into this cavity, so it's not underneath the Dreamcast. So this just sits on here. This bottom part right here is going to go into the bottom card slot. And you want to keep the cord in the lock it to there so this looks nice. You're going to pull it through, drop it down, and then that part that we threaded earlier, it actually worked out great. It's nice and secure. Alright, now we got the control arm. I decided to go with some color instead of the boring original. It's real easy to swap out, so if somebody wanted to put original gray ones in, this just gives the kiosk a nice little pop. And like I said, I'm just gonna hand push, 3 or so foot of this wire up in here, because the Dreamcast just sits on top of here, so you only need enough wire to plug into the front of the console. Alright, I gotta get this back all buttoned back up. I did a little bit of cable management. I think the originals had rubber bands on them, so I found some disintegrated rubber bands in there. But let's get this top back on, or the back. Make sure the power cord comes right out the middle. That's it. Other than that, just some screws all the way around. And then I gotta clean the back up still. You know, I tried to get some sticker off, but I'll do some wax on this thing and it'll be all set and done. Drill's dead. Alright, right before I get this all put back in, I just wanted to show you guys that this is actually the proper demo kiosk unit. I know this is going to be really hard to see, but I was missing the plexiglass in front of it, so I went to Lowe's, our local hardware store, and I had them cut this piece of Lexan. It's really thin, and I had them do it about 8 1/4 wide. Actually, I did 8 1/8 exactly wide, and then 7 tall. And then I had to Dremel around where the lock goes and the arm for the lock. And then I put a little back bevel at 45 in it. And to do all this, besides them cutting it to the exact width, I just used a Dremel and a little sanding tool. So, with this lifted up, it just fits down in here, clears this little arm for the lock. You put it in. Yeah, that way just, you know, with it locked, you know, nobody can get in there. It could have been just a tad bit wider, but it does taper out a little bit, so you could have them cut it maybe 8 1/4. But I did 8 1/8 just to make sure it fit nice.